All right, guys, it's time for our special feature for this evening's podcast, top rope list of our favorite gimmick match stipulations in honor of Extreme Rules, where so far I don't think any of the matches have been announced other than a steel cage match. But what the hell? Why not? We're going to do that anyway. We're going to break down our top three for our best and our favorites. And if you don't know what the top rope list necessarily is, basically that's a normal kind of list. I mean, there's not too much different than that. Bottom rope is what we the equivalent of kind of like a bronze medal, and then it goes up to middle rope, silver medal, and top rope, gold medal. Pretty standard. You know how I like my puns. If you are interested in the top 10 match list that I have, that is on smarkoutmoment.com, but we're only going to break down the top three here to save a little bit of time and go around and get everybody's opinions about that. I will just go last, actually, but we're going to do bottom ropes. So, Wego, what's your bottom rope, your number three favorite stipulation?
Championship Scramble, and they've barely done any of them, but the ones they have done, I've really enjoyed. It adds kind of a sense of unpredictability, and I remember the one that Chris Jericho won. It was just so much fun. I wish they'd do more of them.
Drew?
I'm gonna go with the ladder match, just because I think the ladder match will be on everyone's list. But I've always been a good fan of the ladder match or the TLC match, or whatever the hell you want to call it nowadays. But yeah, ladder matches.
Miguel?
I'm gonna go with one that most people probably aren't gonna think of. I'm gonna go with the War Games 2000, the Triple Cage. I know it's not very thought of fondly, but I like really gimmicky matches, and I don't think you can get any more gimmicky than three cages stacked on each other with guys on each level, and you got to fight your way out from the top to the bottom. And I I yeah, it was dumb and it was a big cluster, but I kind of like the creativity involved with it.
That's why you like TNA so much.
I've been true so.
Hey, that matchup could have worked if it had been booked properly.
Sean, what's your number three?
I gotta go with Hell in a Cell. I like the idea of Hell in a Cell. The only thing I don't like about Hell in a Cell is the camera angle. I don't get why it always has to show the outside of the cell and not the inside of the cell.
Because that's where their cameras are.
Just put a fucking security camera in the fucking top right corner of this fucking cell. You know?
I don't know. Recently, they've been putting a camera guy inside the cell with them, haven't they?
They always have. They usually have
Yeah.
one or two or
Oh,
maybe
yes.
three guys in there.
I don't know,
But
so wait, I
you
don't
got to
under-
consider they also have those cameras that are on cranes and their
Yeah.
hard camera that's out in the audience. Those
Yeah.
There's no way they're going to get those inside the cage.
Just
I've
attach
never-
one to that blimp that they used to have and fly that around.
They,
I've
could
never
just,
had-
they should just duct tape one to the inside of the cell.
Peyton, your number three?
I am going to go with one I don't think anyone else is going to have anywhere on their list, and that's the strap match and any variation thereof. That can be, bull rope match or a chain match. I really like those matches. I think it's a cool new way of creating tension. It's got to be the one that ends when you're going around touching the four corners, though. It can't be where you end with a pin. That makes no goddamn sense. In fact, any of these gimmick matches where it's supposed to end in a certain way and they're just like, oh, yeah, you can also win by pin, too. That completely defeats the purpose. You have to be able to build tension in a unique way. And in the strap matches, I think where you get it. And plus, just using it as a weapon. It's just fun to beat someone with a leather strap or a chain or whatever the heck you're using. And it's probably the first gimmick match I remember seeing, if I recall correctly. I think it was a Caribbean strap match, technically, between Savio Vega and a very young Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Oh, man, I remember that. When anybody says anything about a strap match, that's the first thing that I think of.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember anything that happened during the match, but I remember Caribbean strap match. My number three is a Falls Count Anywhere match. One of the reasons why is because I have a standard street fight kind of a thing on my list at number four, spoiling that a little bit. But the thing that makes that better is the fact that they can take everything that's good about a no disqualification match and amp it up a little bit by having people go other places in the arena. And you don't have to keep everything centralized to around the ring. So when you have everything around the ring in a normal no DQ match, you don't really see a lot of different weapons unless you have stuff at the bottom underneath the ring that are really, really odd, and there's no real point in having it there, like those stop signs and bullshit like that. You see the standard stuff, the tables, the chairs, the steps, kendo sticks, whatever. But when they do False Count Anywhere matches, a lot of them end up having a lot of really cool spots where they are battling around the stage, or they're going backstage and they're getting pinfalls with the equipment trucks and a bunch of stuff like that. I always think that that's a cool stipulation, and they very rarely ever do it, which I really hope they do for Extreme Rules.
You
Number-
know, I
Go
was
ahead,
gonna
Miguel.
say, whenever I think of the whole false count anywhere concept, and this is really silly, but I always think of that little period when the WWE video games were coming out, and they made a big deal about the fact that now you can fight backstage or in the
Go
crowd
to the
and
boiler
whatnot.
room.
Yeah, like there was a period where that was a big selling point for all the video games. That it's
Oh,
something
it's
I don't.
awesome.
Yeah,
That's why.
can they still do that? Can you still like fight in the crowd in some of these games, or have they taken that out?
They've taken it all out. The only thing you can do is have a backstage brawl, which is just stupid. I miss the days in Hell in a Cell where like you could fucking go outside the building and climb the ladder hanging from a fucking helicopter.
Mhm.
Oh
There was-
yeah.
There was so much stupid shit, which was awesome.
I think it'd be kind of hard to get the crowd fight kind of stuff when they have like the same kind of characters that pop up and just like are sitting there constantly waving their hands like, "Yay, wrestling is awesome!" and you just battle
Yeah.
next to them and you're
And
like,
they're all fucking blurred and shit too, so it looks awkward.
right.
Yeah, I remember back when they did that, and it was just basically just you would fight amongst the clip art background, just like with their three frames of animation.
So number 2, Wego, what's your middle rope?
For me, it's got to be a ladder match. I love the concept, and I've got a whole bunch of matches that I consider like 4 or 5 star, and several of them are ladder matches. The Chris Jericho versus Shawn Michaels one was awesome. The one they had at WrestleMania with the Hardys, Dudley Boys, and Edge and Christian. That might have been TLC, but it's the same shit. So generally, ladder matches, as long as they're booked the right way and you put the right guys in there, it can either be all hell broken loose or it can be a great story told.
Drew?
I'm gonna go with the I Quit match, and one of the reasons why it's on my list is mainly because one of the first pay-per-views I ordered had an I Quit match in it, and I don't know, it's always had that like place in my heart where it's like kind of like that special feeling. Oh, it's an I Quit match. So, they're not as good as what they used to be because, they don't really show the blood and stuff, and it's all about submissions and shit nowadays. But I do like a good I Quit match, and I will hold that true to this day.
Drew, have you ever had a chance to see Rock versus Mankind at the Royal Rumble?
Ooh, no.
Oh, if you love I Quit matches, you really got to go out of your way to watch that match.
Will do, son. Will do.
Miguel, what's your number 2?
I'm going to go a bit nostalgic. I'm going to go for a cage match, but I'm going to go for the old school blue bar cage. And the reason that I picked that one is because there was a period where that cage was being used where the only way to win the matches was to escape over the top of the cage. And to me, that should be the way it works. I don't like the whole concept of being able to just walk out the door or do a pinfall. I like that old school mentality of, well, not even old school because that was just WWE that did that, but the only way to win is to escape the cage. It brings a sense of tension that I don't think you get in most modern cage matches. It's just it does nothing to just walk out of the cage. I feel you really got to earn that win.
Now here's something. Do you know why they made that blue bar steel cage?
To make it easier for guys like Hogan to climb.
Specifically for Hogan. Hogan had a very tough time climbing the traditional mesh steel cage, and they specifically crafted that blue bar steel cage so he could have an easier time climbing it and win those matches.
Really?
And those
Yeah.
cages don't. There's no give with those cages. It's solid steel. So you get rammed into those things. It's gonna hurt.
Yeah, but it's left such a bigger impression when you watched it. I mean, the mesh one's like more camera friendly, but I still love the look of the blue bars or just how thick they are. And when someone collides into them, you get a real big rattle off them.
You look like a caged animal when you're inside that one. When you're in the regular one, it just looks like you're in a fence.
Yeah.
Well, here's a bit of a trivia question. Do you guys remember the last pay-per-view to use the blue bar cage?
The blue bar, or when they made it a black bar?
Was it Rebellion 2000?
I was black bar cage then. What was the last time they used
Was
that style of
that
cage?
St. Valentine's Day Massacre?
1999, yeah.
No, there was one in 2000 for Rebellion, so...
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it was an England pay-per-view.
The English pay-per-views don't fucking count.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So you was
They don't promote those on TV.
guess what? They're available on the WWE network now. So go fuck
Yep,
yourself.
Yeah, so is a lot of other crap.
Yeah, like Legends House.
Hey, Legends House looks awesome. I'm so sad that didn't get picked up by a major network. That would have been perfect for like a VH1 or something.
It might if Peyton pushes it some more.
I'm just waiting for the season where they get Sheik on there. That's gonna be great.
Sean, what's your number 2?
I'm probably gonna get a lot of flack for this one, but I'm gonna go with TNA's Ultimate X match. I just like the fast-paced action of the X division.
It's
you know
hard
the
doing that with
guys
the,
that
the
aren't
accent, isn't it?
no longer there, like Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley. When them two were doing the X division match, the Ultimate X match,
Well, at least they
It
still got
was-
that Christopher Daniels guy, right? Oh,
eye-capturing and nostalgic. I was gonna go with the Steel Asylum, but then I thought that's kind of stupid. So Ultimate X it is.
You sure you don't want to go with Elevation X?
No.
Okay.
Perfect.
Aiden, what's your number 2?
my number 2 is actually going to be a takeoff of your number 3, Tony. I'm going to specifically point out the Attitude Era 24/7 hardcore title matches.
Yes.
Those were all just so much fun. As you were saying, they were in locations that you never would have seen a match before. And I mean, even going beyond from just outside the ring into the crowd, you were seeing matches in airports, in ball pits, in the backstage boiler room, in all types of weird areas, going through like makeshift walls and pane glass areas and using every possible weapon. I remember, I think it was Al Snow pinned Hardcore Holly in the Mississippi River wrapped up
Yeah.
inside some fencing once. Oh my gosh, it was just so much bonkers shit going on during that time period. I loved it and I miss it. I wish they would do something like that again.
My number 2 is ladder match, and it's basically the same kind of points that Wego brought up. Fuck the whole idea of a TLC match. It's exactly the same thing. There's no difference whatsoever. So anything that's Money in the Bank or a championship or a TLC match or all that, they're all just ladder matches. They're all cool. I love when somebody like a Shelton Benjamin or a Morrison or Kingston is able to do something different with the ladder that we haven't seen before, whether they're using it as a weapon or they're walking on it like stilts to try to get to the titles or any of that kind of stuff. There's always something fun that they end up doing in almost every ladder match. And that sense of tension when the guys are trying to climb up and all that, it's built in and you don't have to really think too much about the match. You could just sit and enjoy it. So, number 1, our top rope. Wego, what is your number 1?
For me, and this goes back before the match became oversaturated and there was a bit more violence allowed in the WWE, it was Hell in a Cell. Because when that match was announced, everyone was like, oh shit, Hell in a Cell. And now when someone announces Hell in a Cell, it's like, oh, Hell in a
Oh, is it
Cell.
that time of year again?
Yeah, it's like, oh, that pay-per-view's on.
Oh, remember that
So-
classic between Ryback and Punk?
Yeah, I think the Hell in a Cell quality dipped come Kevin Nash and Triple H. And but prior to that, it was such an awesome concept, and it wasn't oversaturated. It was done as a one-off. It was done to elevate a feud. And the last one that I truly, really enjoyed was probably Triple H versus Shawn Michaels. I don't know if that was a part of a Free Stages of Hell or not, but it was fun.
I have to disagree with you on one thing. Hell in a Cell wasn't to elevate a feud. Hell in a Cell was to finish a feud. And that was what was very important about Hell in a Cell. Hell in a Cell was where you went when you had no other way
And
to
they
settle
always-
this beef. Now it's Hell in a Cell is, hey, it's October, so let's have a Hell in a Cell match. That's why it sucks now.
And what
There's
I
no
Yeah.
big beef going into these Hell in a Cell matches.
What I love about Hell in a Cell is whenever they had the pay-per-views, with that being like the headliner, they'd play the End Is Near music. It was such a fucking sweet soundtrack and got you pumped for it. But it's lost all its magic about it now, but during its time and during when it was awesome, it was definitely my favorite match.
I'd have to say my favorite Cell matchup. It's probably got to be a tie, just for the madness of it between the six pack challenge from Armageddon 2000 and the one between Lesnar and Taker, just because of how bloody that was.
You can't Mankind versus Undertaker. It was a spectacle.
It's
Nothing
all
more.
about the first one for me.
Yeah.
Michaels and Taker.
Yeah,
They set the standard, and it still sits to this day, in my opinion.
I think Mankind vs Undertaker was the best one, and one of my favorites, which is very underrated, is Cactus Jack vs Triple H.
That was a good
Oh,
one.
from No Way Out 2000.
Yep.
That one's pretty good.
Yeah, every time that Wake Up mutes his microphone, clack, clack.
I don't hear any whatsoever.
Drew, what is your number one?
My number one is the gauntlet match. Whether it be a standard one or a brown panty gauntlet match, I've always been a sucker for the gauntlet match. What? They had one. I don't know if you
Did they?
remembered it. Yeah, it was at New Year's Revolution 2006.
I must have missed that one.
No,
Huh.
it's not as good as what you'd expect. It's
I think that was when I wasn't watching. I think that was the very tail end of when I wasn't watching.
They
Yeah.
just have like Luna and Jazz and a bunch
no,
of people
no,
like
no,
that.
no,
in
no,
it.
no, 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 it wasn't
No,
that bad. It,
2006. That was like
they had
Candice
Ashley,
Michelle.
Mickey James, Michelle. Yeah, they had like Candice Michelle. It wasn't that bad, but it wasn't anything amazing. But yeah, I've always been a mark for a good gauntlet match, and the most recent one I can remember in WWE was just Daniel Bryan doing his stupid gauntlet stuff with random people. But like stuff like that, I've always really liked, and I've always liked the idea of, hey, you won. If you really wanted, you have to face another guy, and just like that idea, I think really shows how good a guy can be and show how much the company trusts in a guy. So I've always liked that concept.
Wait, you think that match was stupid? The Antonio Cesaro stuff was
No,
fucking awesome.
no. I didn't say it was stupid. I probably think it's a lot better than everyone else just because I'm a mark for a good gauntlet match. I know it's a great match, but I probably think it's like the best match of the year or something like that.
Miguel, what's your number one?
Well, I talked about liking really gimmicky matches, and to me, one of the most gimmicky that I could think of that really got over is the Elimination Chamber. The whole concept of the 6 pods, the steel floor wrapped around the ring, the thick chain cage around it. Just the whole setup of it is just so menacing. I don't know who came up with that, if kayfabe wise, if Bischoff did or whatever, but I really dig that. I wish it was more of a thing. I know that they for a while it was kind of the staple for No Way Out. I think it might still be, or Elimination Chamber now, as they've now called it. But I really, really dig that whole matchup.
John?
Mine is tied between a championship scramble or the Royal Rumble itself. Why not? Because there's 30 men going for the main prize, and that is the main event at WrestleMania. You can't get much bigger than that now, can you?
Peyton?
Oh, my number one is going to be a loser leaves town match, or any variation of a retirement match. I think that there's no other way to put it all on the line than when you're putting your career on there. And it has to be legit. It can't be like when John Cena puts his career on the line, then he's back on Raw 2 weeks later. I mean, like, legit people are losing their careers out of the match. Like, my favorite I always have to think back to was the Mr. Perfect Ric Flair match on one of the first episodes of Raw. And even like the Ric Flair Shawn Michaels match, so much emotion into that. Anytime you have a retirement involved, it's guaranteed to ramp up the emotion of it to a new level that you cannot get any other possible way.
Yeah, Peyton likes when someone loses their job. Seems legit.
TNA's feast or fired.
Oh, that one's terrible.
What, genitalia? What?
My number one, Royal Rumble. You can kind of group Battle Royals into there, but the Royal Rumble is the top of that whole thing. It's just fucking awesome. I mean, I like elimination matches, so it has that in there. You got a whole bunch of people in the ring at one time, so things are kind of crazy. You've got the entrances where each one, no matter who it is, whether it's somebody who matters, like a John Cena, or it's somebody stupid that nobody could really care about, like a Yoshitatsu, when they start counting down, and they start with a 10, 9, everybody is super pumped for who is next. And sometimes you can get people popping up that haven't been around for a while, and that's always awesome. You get surprise entrances from injured people. It's just a fucking awesome match. It's one of the only things that is almost like flawless in WWE. So that's our list. that we have for you guys. If you want to give us your list, whether it's top 3, top 5, top 10, hell, if you want to do top 50, go ahead. Leave a comment below or leave a comment on smarkoutmoment.com on the articles page, and check out the other ones that we've got on smarkoutmoment.com as well. That is going to knock out our episode for this week. The only thing that we have left to do is some plugs. Wago, you're up first.
Okay, make sure to check out Mega Powers Radio April 27th, this Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, for a special edition of Addicted to Anime as we talk about Pokemon. We have a big cast, we're going to have a lot of fun, and also check out udmma.com. Unanimous Decision MMA is back. We're having the podcast return, including a special called The Liver Shot, where we're going to get drunk and give you our live reactions of MMA fights.
Ooh, that sounds interesting.
Drew?
If anyone is interested in sports, tomorrow night at 9 o'clock, be on Mega Powers Radio, where you can listen to Sports Talk Weekly, where I will be on. Peyton will randomly say a few words, but he isn't going to talk much, but he will say a few words. I will promise you that. So if anyone wants to hear Peyton say a few words, be sure to be there. And remember, it's always about the Drew Crew, and every other team sucks ass.
Now, is this in conjunction with the other sports show on Mega Powers Radio, or is this just your own thing?
No, it's Sports Talk Weekly. That's what it just said. It's the same show.
Oh, it's the same show? Okay.
Miguel, yes, it's the same show.
All right, Miguel?
Well, as you folks know, I come from a far-off land called the Retro Unlim Network, and we've got all sorts of shows for you to check out. We've got my show, the Untitled Movie Show, Tuesday nights at 8 on the Retro Unlim Network. Actually, tonight we had the second episode of the Rudy J. Ferretti Show, which is on at 8 o'clock on Retro Unlim. Thursdays we have the Unradio Show with Travis Goss, and Saturdays we have I Got Gameplay with our leader and host, Michael Burhan.
Sean? All right, Giggles, calm down.
Fuck yeah, now. Right, yeah. So, can I go? Am I allowed to go?
Yeah, go ahead, Sean.
Yeah, youtube.com/Shaughnessy1989. That's my YouTube channel. I've recently uploaded a new Mario Sunshine Let's Play, and follow me on the Twitter. And yes, I'm doing my normal voice because the posh voice was starting to hurt. And why did God give women 2 sets of lips? So they can piss and moan at the same time.
And you just lost all your female fan base.
Dude,
I don't have female fan base, but I got 13 subscribers, right?
Piss off, Tony. You know that everyone who listens to this fucking show is male. It's a total sausage fest.
Well, especially after Sean calls them birds.
They are birds. The chicks, birds, fajitas.
Baden.
Well, if you listen to this show, I can only assume that you're a wrestling fan, so please check out all the wrestling things that I am doing as well. First off, check out the Raw post show on Mega Powers Radio. Every single Monday night following the conclusion of Raw, you'll hear the same cast of characters you hear here, giving our live reactions following the show, as well as inviting you, the listener, to join the conversation. We already had some cool people like Awesome Piano Man jump on over there, join us in the chat room, calling in on the phones, making lots of good times. You should come as well, because we had a blast this week, and it always gets better and better every single week. Also, please check out my wrestling website, keepingkayfabe.com, where I have lots of random little articles, and hopefully I'm getting that podcast updated very soon. However, right now I am busy with a brand new podcast I just started revolving around Game of Thrones. So if you're any other game heads out there and you want to hear me talking about dragons and floppy wieners and all the other crap that are on that show, check it out. It's called the Sand and Snow Podcast. It is on Stitcher Radio and iTunes, coming soon to a few other avenues as well, trying to get some things popping with that. And gosh, I just feel like I have a million things to plug. So for all those, follow me on Twitter at Mr. Payton. That's Mr. Payton. Thank y'all.
We know. We know.
All right, guys, stay tuned for everything else with Smark Out Moment, and stay tuned also to the Fantasy League. We're going to be having that coming up.
Oh, yeah, that.
We're going to record that right after we get done this episode of Smack Talk, so you're going to be able to see what we ended up picking very soon. Everything else I pretty much mentioned in the rest hold. So for everybody on the panel this evening, thank you very much for joining in. I'm Tony Mango. This has been another Smark Out Moment, and we counted out.
Outro, Sinatra.